Tonight, Cyclone Pam downgraded, youth empowering youth, and World Water Ski Champions. Kia ora and good evening. Welcome to Central News on TV Central for Monday the 16th of March. I'm Amanda Harper. In today's news, as of this morning, Cyclone Pam has been downgraded to an intense tropical low as winds drop slightly as the storm continues its path around East Cape. Emergency services in the Matamata Piako district were kept busy overnight, attending a number of storm-related call-outs, including a motorbike accident, but none were critical situations. And in the Western Bay of Plenty, emergency services have reported a quiet night with extra crew on standby in Greerton just in case. Tauranga Fire Service Senior Station Officer Len Sabin says they got off lightly. The wave recorder on the port of Tauranga's A Beacon this morning recorded a peak wave height of 5.5 metres on top of a 4-metre swell. Tauranga Airport rain gauge recorded 7 millimetres of rain yesterday. Met Service spokesman John Law expects the main impact of the storm to be felt east of Edgecombe. Storm warnings and watches are still in place for the Western Bay of Plenty. It wasn't the result Waikato Bay of Plenty Kia Magic co-captain Liana de Bruin wanted for her landmark ANZ Championship match, as Magic lost 51-48 to the Melbourne Vixens in Mount Maunganui last night. The encounter marked De Bruin's 100th championship game, and although the teams were neck and neck heading into the third quarter, Magic were unable to get ahead of the visiting team. Magic coach Julie Fitzgerald is one who certainly knows the significance of the milestone and the value the classy defender brings to her side. Julie says in this level of competition, to have played 100 games and to have been able to sustain the level of performance for that length of time is a tremendous achievement. Magic take on Canterbury Tactics in the third home game of the season at Claudins Arena in Hamilton on Sunday, March the 22nd. A large crowd enjoyed a tight encounter at Seddon Park as New Zealand continued their unbeaten run in the ICC Cricket World Cup. District Operations Manager for Waikato Police, Inspector Karen Henriksen, said the attentive crowd was largely well behaved and that there were no serious incidents. Henriksen says it was great to see the positive interaction between the flamboyant Bangladesh supporters and the hometown fans. There were only 6 evictions and 2 arrests. The public's voice is now being sought for a new 10-year plan that will play a key role in shaping the Waikato region's future. Yesterday, Waikato Regional Councillors unanimously adopted the 2015-2025 long-term plan consultation document, setting out the Council's proposals, rates, implications and levels of service. Council Chairperson Paula Southgate says over the next 10 years, major changes will impact on our environment and lifestyle, and the plan looks at how we can tackle these challenges together. We will have more about the LTP on Central News over the next couple of weeks. And now for our region's weather. Hamilton, the weather will improve with a mainly fine outlook tomorrow. Southwesterly winds, high of 22 and overnight low of 6. Rest of Waikato the same, Pairo 23 and 9, Matamata 20 high and 8, Te Awamutu 22 and 6, Tokoroa 20 high and 6 overnight. Tauranga, mainly fine tomorrow with afternoon and evening showers, 24 high and 11 low. Te Puke, your high is 22 and overnight low of 10. And for the marine forecast, on the west coast, Raglan, southeast of 20 knots, gale warning still in force, high tide is at 8:42 p.m. And on the east coast, Bay of Plenty, storm warning with a southwest 35 knots, very rough seas easing tomorrow morning, high tide is at 6:09 p.m. Coming up, youth empowering youth. Welcome back to Central News. Te Ahurei Rangatahi is a remarkable youth health promotion service in the Waikato, providing positive influences for kids, teenagers and even young adults. Youth workers Manny and Harms prove how you should never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, this organisation's ultimate in terms of when we just think about young people 18 years strong this year in April. In English, it translates to the gathering of youth. Us as youth, gathering with other young people, and sharing messages and information with them is mainly what we're all about. We do youth-to-youth workshops around sexual health, drugs and alcohol, health in general. We also do graffiti art classes, dance workshops. We run events for young people. We
counsellors,
yeah,
free counselling. We also provide a space for young people to come and hang.
Yeah, every week we run a support group as well that both of us came from. We do heaps of stuff.
Just young people.
Yeah.
Just work with young people.
But basically, you're a positive influence on the young people of like the Waikato.
Yeah. I mean, initially when it started, it was very just youth for youth based. And they've kept that face the whole way through. So they get young people who've either come through like their services or have been a part of classes and have done some kind of volunteer basis. And then, they kind of build them up, and then that's us.
And how did you two get involved?
I was pretty lucky. My old brother was working there. So I did some volunteer work with the support group Brotherhood. And through that I did about 6 months, and then and then a kind of job came up. I applied for it, and I was lucky enough to get it. So it's kind of my path.
Yeah, word. And I was brought up in Huntly, and so we had a cool youth worker out there called Major Tahapihi, and he just dragged me along pretty much to lots of things because I was mischief and into other things. So he just took me along to some of these workshops or some of these wānanga that Te Ahurea run, and just exposes you to lots of different things in life. And then when I got my stuff together and I was all good, then Ahurea came and hollered a job, and be rocking ever since.
So they were an influence on you as a youth, and now you
definitely
are influencing other youth.
Yeah.
For the positive.
Sprinkle effect.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been awesome people working with Ahurea, so I think as much as they rubbed off on us, we're just trying to do the same for other people.
What is it that makes the organisation so successful? 18 years is a long time.
Yeah, word. I would definitely say it's the whole youth-to-youth approach. A lot of the times when we walk into classrooms in mainstream schools or even kura schools, AE schools, we get lots of surprise reactions because they expect some old lady with a chart to come in and teach sexual health. But we rock in and be real, and we've got lots of knowledge and training under us as well.
And we also remember what it's like to be a young person. Yeah. And classroom settings are quite boring, so kind of spice it up, games, in between, icebreakers, try to make it fun.
Come on.
Is that what you love about your job? Would you even call it a job, what you guys do?
No, I'd probably call it a lifestyle, really.
Lifestyle, yep. Hard out. I mean, we just get to go in and be ourselves, which is so cool. And I guess that's a good point for some teachers out there is, you can just kind of be yourself and relate to young people rather than putting on a mask. So we try to bring that across when we rock our classes,
Any organisation that creates positive thinking in our communities is one to be recognised. Ka pai tō mahi. In our next story, for the past 5 years, 16-year-old Ben Taylor has had a dream to represent New Zealand at the 2015 World Waterski Racing Championships. This dream will come true for Ben and his team, known as Triple X Racing, as New Zealand will be hosting the event in Wellington from the 11th to the 18th of April. Anne-Marie spoke with Ben and his observer, Brad.
My dad bought a boat about 6 years ago, and Mum and Dad both decided that they wanted to teach us how to ski for a fun summer sport. And so we actually came into here, Rollo's Marine and Liquid Lab, and asked them what was the best thing for me and how do we do it. And they actually suggested to send me along to the New Zealand Waterski Racing Association ski school. And the first day I rocked up there, I remember seeing some of the top guys actually skiing and thinking, I want to do that one day. And 6 years down the track, here I am doing it. So yeah, it's great.
Fantastic. That's a great story. Brad, was it obvious from the start that Ben had a talent for skiing?
I'd have to say no, not really. He's definitely growing as he's grown up into the sport, and he's come a long way, I guess, from the early days when he sort of rocked around on double skis for a few years, and then really progressed in the last 3 or 4 to be a really, really good skier here in New Zealand, and obviously make this World Champs team.
And you're going as part of the World Champs team too. You're the observer.
Yep, correct. I'll be sitting in the boat for Ben and also New Zealand's top #1 woman skier, Adelaide Cox. So yeah, got a big job, I guess, for both those two skiers, looking after them in the Worlds and try and get them both up onto the podiums. The plan.
Ben, you must be absolutely excited and rapt at this chance to go to the Worlds in Wellington. How's the training going? How many hours and days are you putting into training at the moment?
I train probably 6 days a week and sometimes twice a day, and my training can vary from probably 30 minutes to 2 hours depending on what I'm training for. So I do quite a lot of endurance training as well, but I also do hard intensity interval training. I try to get on the water probably 3 times a week, 2 in Hamilton, 1 up in Auckland in the bays. And so when I'm in Hamilton, I'll quite often use double skis and bindingless skis to help with core stability and balance over the ski. But then when I'm up in Auckland, I'm going as hard as I can on my big drag skis and pushing the boundaries and trying to find what I'm capable of.
Tell me about the ski that Ben rides on. Skis on?
Yep.
A drag ski. What is that?
This is Ben's ski here. It's what we call a drag ski, which is specific to racing. They're 7'4" long, like 2.2 metres. And double boot bindings, so Ben's clipped in. I have to clip Ben in myself before the race, which they're not the most comfortable of boots, to be fair, but the big thing is not having too much movement in the boot, and actually because obviously the speeds we're doing, it requires a lot of control. They're quite heavy to keep them in the water at the speed that we're doing, and yeah, I guess quite different to a recreational water ski is the big thing, really.
What other kit are you wearing? I guess a wetsuit, and I'm thinking a helmet?
Yeah, you definitely have to wear a wetsuit and a helmet, but I also wear a neck brace and arm restraints just because I like the feeling of being secure. So we recently just purchased a new suit, but I'm getting all the neck braces and everything built into it. But the bare minimum is a helmet and a wetsuit. That's all you have to wear. Yep.
How hard is it on your body?
Very hard. It's just like getting hit by a bat really for 30 minutes, especially in the big water. It's just non-stop, and like you come in after a hard race and you are absolutely just wrecked from it, and quite often you have nothing left in your body, and yeah, it's definitely hard work.
So you're heading to the Worlds in Wellington. Tell me about the category that you're going to be competing in.
I'm competing in the under 17 division, junior boys. There's definitely some very good skiers out there, especially from Australia, and it should be real good, tough racing.
Now, it's a little bit different because it's on the open water, is that correct? Is that why you're going up to Auckland for training?
Yeah, definitely. So Worlds racing is, I guess, a little bit different to a lot of the other stuff that we do here in New Zealand. Normally we ski on lakes and rivers, but this year the Worlds are in Wellington, which is going to be in the harbour there, Oriental Bay and Evans Bay, which, yeah, it's not, I guess, complete open water, but it is, you know, Wellington's generally pretty windy and going to be pretty rough. So, yeah, really looking forward to the challenge that's going to throw up, and that's why we've been going up to Auckland to obviously get as much experience in that type of water as we can. So we should be reasonably well prepared for it.
Ben, how long is the race, and what kind of speeds do you get up to?
My race is 30 minutes plus 1 lap. On a flat day we might do 80 plus miles an hour, and on a slow day we might even do 30 miles an hour. So the speeds can vary quite a lot depending on the water conditions that we have, but no matter what, you're always going to get rough in Wellington. By the end of the race it will be rough. Yep.
So is it an actual distance or is it a time? Is it first past the post? How does it work?
Everyone starts at the same time, so it's a mass start, but it's basically you ski as many laps as you can around a 5k circuit for 30 minutes, and then once the time's up, the leader gets a blue flag, which means 1 lap to go, and everyone completes that last lap and you're done. So the boys can end up skiing depending on how rough it is for around 35 to 40 minutes. The open men ski for an hour plus a lap, so it is an endurance sport, as well as obviously being a speed and you know, stability thing as well. You know, you've got to stay upright to get home, and it's you know, sometimes a bit of survival in those bigger waters. You know.
So how many laps will Ben do in that 30 minutes?
Hey, really
Hoping to do.
Yeah, it really depends on the conditions. I'd say probably around 8 or 9, 10 laps sort of thing. Really depends on the pace that's set by the other competitors, obviously, or hopefully us. But yeah, really depends on the water conditions. As Ben said, we can ski at 30 mile an hour, barely up on the plane, because if it's, metre and a half waves, or if it's flat out, we'll be going around at early 80 mile an hour, which is sort of 130, 140 k. So it really depends on the conditions.
As somebody who is probably what you'd call a amateur on the skis and has a go on the biscuit and the wakeboard, I have to ask, what do you love about the sport? So far we're hearing that it's hard out, it's full on, it's dangerous. Yeah. What do you love about it, Ben?
Mostly the adrenaline you get, especially on the start line. You get the nerves, and then when you jump in the water, it's just that shock of adrenaline you get. And then especially, I love pushing my boundaries, finding where my boundaries are, and then trying to break them, which is real good in the sport because you're constantly having to break them to improve yourself. So that's really what I love about the sport, just constant improvement.
Is there a special type of boat that's required as well?
Yeah, I guess ski racing in general requires specific types of boats. I guess more so for world's conditions because it's normally big water. We run, I guess, even more specific, as in the boat that we've got for the world's, our XXX racing boat, has got about 400 litres of ballast so basically water that we pump into the boat to make it heavier, to keep it in the water, to give the skiers a better ride. It's 21 foot in length, but it's still quite light, so it's like the boat itself's only 350 kilos plus the motor type thing. So it's still capable of the speed, but then the day that it's really rough, we can load it up and give the skiers a good ride and really look after them, So, quite specific to this style of racing as opposed to some of the other stuff we do, So.
I've got to say it sounds expensive, an expensive sport. You must have an amazing support team of sponsors around you.
Yeah, well, up until really this year, Mum and Dad have paid for pretty much everything for me. But since we got selected into the World's teams, we sent out my profile to local businesses. I haven't got one particular sponsor in general, but we've definitely had support from local businesses, especially from Animal Lodge and Ron Flood and Associates. And then our team XXX Racing has definitely got donations as well from Vercat Interior, Carter's Commercial Building Products, and...
There's probably a couple others there, are there, Brad?
Yeah, I actually not too sure, to be fair. Here we go. Lorden Building and also Dulux and Vodafone. So we've had a few jump on board and really helped out because, as you say, there's a lot of expenses, especially with travelling and staying in Wellington for the week-long competition. We're sort of going to be down there for 2 weeks, sort of in the build-up and stuff. And, really looking forward to it.
If you'd like to find out more or provide financial support, then email pcracing@extra.co.nz. Good luck to Ben and his team. In our last story, the Hamilton Gardens have just experienced one of their busiest summers, coming off the back of the award for International Garden of the Year. This is fast contributing to Hamilton becoming a destination city, with the Hamilton Gardens a huge drawcard. Anne-Marie spoke with Mayor Julie Haraka to find out how the Gardens project plans are coming along.
Look, really, really well. It's an ambitious project to get the 4 gardens and all the rest of the infrastructure, the jetty and the car park information centre done in 4 years. But look, we're really going well on that. It's all on track. We just put in our big application to the Lotteries Commission for significant funding, and fingers crossed that all comes home. But that's been a great process as well, because you've got to be ready for your project when you put your application in. So everything's been done, the plans drawn, the QS done, the resource consents, etc. So we are good to go. So fingers crossed that comes home, and we'll know about that later in the year. But meanwhile, there's a lot of work being done on how we also secure the rest of the funding for the gardens. The Hamilton ratepayer is paying $10 a year to contribute to that project, and I think people are just really excited to see it come home. A lot of work's already being done sort of on the ground. A lot of plants are being grown, and because that takes a few years lead-in time. Some funding has already been secured, so I'm really confident that this time next year we'll be talking about, how it's all shaping up and which gardens and where the digging's happening and what plants are being planted. So it's going to be amazing. Those gardens have been particularly beautiful this summer with lots of events there, and more and more people are saying we just can't wait.
There was some opposition to the River Plan project in a councillors' meeting last week. Were those concerns valid, or was it just political point scoring?
Yeah, look, it's hard to know where that goes, but what we do know is, for 30 odd years, we've been trying to get a river plan off the ground here in the city. We finally signed off on the plan before Christmas, and the decision last week was about how we might start funding implementation, and there were still a few councillors around the council table who weren't happy to commit to that. My response to that is, people have been waiting an awful long time for this, and one of the most important things about plans is you start doing the implementation. You must commit to that, and the city's never been able to do that. And this politics has got in the way, and people's views have got in the way for the last 30 odd years. So, I say to the naysayers, come on, the public really, really want this. This is our number one, need, in my view, need for the city. The river is our major natural asset, and the public have well and truly endorsed the plan, so we need to get on with it. So, come on, let's just get on with it. And I think the funding's a good model, because what's happening is the council's committing a portion of its budget, $250,000 in the first year and $500,000 each year after that. But in addition to that, once we get the detailed plans designed, the major projects will spill out of that, and some of those will be very expensive. So then our challenge will be how we're going to get those implemented, and that'll be a topic of another discussion. But it's all on track. That's the main thing.
What is the next step with the River Plan?
So for the next year or so, there is going to be a lot of work done on the detailed planning for Ferrybank. So we're working on that at the moment. Ferrybank is predominantly a reserve, and then there are some freehold and commercial areas of Ferrybank. But it's an eclectic mix, I guess, of land and different aspirations on that. So we're going to do a very detailed plan about exactly what Ferrybank area is going to look like, and that will happen over the next year. In addition to that, we've already started on our vegetation management plan. We're looking at our signage work, and also we did a very good study in 2003 about Maori historic sites all along the river with Mana Whenua and Tainui, and that is a really, really interesting piece of work. So we're working on how we can start rolling that out. And the Flower Bridge in Puketi, the plan is to get that done within the next year, probably 6 months actually, and also some detailed work on the swimming pool in the river. So look, I would say that every few months the public is going to see something happening on the river that gets this plan delivered.
For more details on the Hamilton Gardens project or the River Plan, go to riverplan.co.nz. That is it from me tonight. To stay up to date with all that we do, like us on Facebook, search centralnews.tv, or if you think you might have a story lead for us, email news@tvcentral.co.nz. I'll be back on screens again tomorrow night with more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. My name is Amanda Harper. Have a good night. Pō Marie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.